If your Facebook ads aren't quite getting you the results that you're looking for, it could be because your message is blending in with the sameness of the rest of your industry. So today I'm going to walk you through a simple framework that I learned last week that will help you get your ad in front of the right people, but also catch their attention and get them moving towards the direction that you want them to take the most. So if this is the first time joining one of my lives, I'm Brian Czekanski, and I help coaches stand out in their market so they don't have to compete on price anymore, and they don't have to work endless hours doing all social media or doing all the hustling to build their business. Instead, they build an automated business where the best clients come to them. We're based on what I call full confidence ads. And you go to fullconfidenceads.com to walk through my free video training that walks you through how to differentiate yourself in your specific market, how to really understand where your audience is, and how to write and create the right Facebook ads that really speak to them directly. And then also how to actually go into Business Manager and how to actually push the right buttons to get your Facebook ads up and running, and how to optimize them over time and get you the best possible results. So again, fullconfidenceads.com for that. So today I want to cover a framework that I learned last week. It was based on a speaker in one of the conferences, Copy Chief Live, that I was a part of. Somebody I've been following for a long period of time. I'll just show you the book right now. It's called Get Different, Mike Michalowicz. If you're an entrepreneur, you would know him by one of my other favorite books called Profit First. But just a great presentation from Mike talking about his recent book called Get Different, where he walked through a simple marketing formula that kind of resonates with me, which he called the DAD marketing formula. That was just super simple and really kind of explains for a lot of different people, especially if you're running online ads or if you're just trying to attract attention for your business, why you might not be getting the results that you're looking for. And it all comes down to you are putting out the same message that everybody else is. And therefore, you're not really getting noticed. You're kind of just blending in, you're competing on price, and you're kind of just doing the same thing as everybody else. So I'm going to walk you through that 3-step formula. And then I'm going to just give you an example of a new client that I was working with this week, how I, just in the initial research that I'm doing, how the rest of the market is just, again, following the same message, and they might be getting results, but they're not getting nearly the results that they could if they just thought about how they could differentiate themselves, how they could get different in terms of their marketing message to really capture their audience's attention and get them moving in the right direction. So I'm going to walk you through this. I'll share my screen really quickly, and this will be relatively quick in terms of the formula, because as you'll see, it's a pretty simple one. Just gonna go back real quick. Just give me 2 seconds. Okay, so again, called it the DAD marketing formula, again, from the book Get Different, Mike Michalowicz. And again, he walked through this in a presentation. I've been reading his book this week, but I think the key thing is really just thinking about in your marketing is really that key number one thing. So in terms of the D, that first D is really thinking about differentiating yourself. So like, how can you put out a message that nobody else in the industry is talking about? And it's really about getting your audience's attention. How do you get noticed by saying something different or challenging conventional beliefs, or just being, just putting yourself out there in a way that is different from what all the rest of the industry is doing? And again, you have to, number one, do the research and figure out like, okay, what is everybody else saying? What do those ads look like? But then really thinking about and doing some experimentation. And again, this is something that he provides in the book, kind of that process for going through. So I won't give that away. But like number one is kind of really differentiating. Like, how can I say something in the first line of my Facebook ad that gets them to stop scrolling, to gets their attention and gets them moving in the same direction? Same thing in terms of your images. Like, are you using the same images that the rest of your audience is using? And Mike actually talks about in his book, there's a part of your audience's brain and part of any person's brain where your brain is trying to filter in all this information that it's getting on a day-by-day basis. So if you're putting out a marketing message that your audience has seen time and time and time again, in terms of the words, the images, whatever it is, what you don't even realize is unconsciously or consciously, your audience is immediately kind of scrolling through and saying, yeah, I've seen that before. It's not interesting. So there's just a part of their brain that they don't even, even if your ad goes through in their news feed, they're not even noticing it whatsoever because they're already associating with something that they've seen before, regardless of what, how much better you are at the competition. This is something that Mike really stressed in his presentation is like, you might think, and you probably are better than 99% of your competition. But if you're using the same message and everything else, nobody's actually going to find that out because you're not doing enough to get noticed and actually getting in that right direction. So again, for him, he talked about how better is not better, different is better because different allows you to get your audience's attention. And then now that you have their attention, now you can explain why you're better. Now you can explain why you can get them results faster than anybody else, or to whatever end goal that they're looking toward at the end of the day. And this kind of comes down to the A as part of the DAD. So attract. So now that we've got somebody's attention, how can we speak in a way that really speaks to the opportunity that they care about most? Like, how can you speak to the goal, the outcome, whatever it is in their exact language? So this really comes through. Like, I lived in New York City for a long period of time. You've always had those people that you'd be walking down the street and they'd be selling something. They would get your attention in some kind of way. And then the first line, the first word out of their mouth kind of clued me into like, okay, this guy is just trying to sell me on something. There was actually somebody, I was just walking down the street, this today, and somebody, waved me down or whatever. And the first word, the first sentence, I don't even know what it was, but I knew right away that she wanted to sell me something. And I just kind of waved her off. I just kept on going. So it's kind of the same thing with your marketing. Like, you have to, once you've gotten their attention, those first few words, those first few sentences are really important to let them know they're in the right place, that you are the person to deliver the outcome, the opportunity, whatever it is that they're looking for the most. They want to, again, that kind of comes down to that attraction. Like, how can you engage them a way that makes sense? And they're not getting a ton of alarm bells. There's not a ton of skepticism or just like, oh, this person is just trying to sell me something that I don't need at the same time. Again, how can you start to get in that conversation back and forth where you can really engage them, keep their attention, and attention that you get right away and you have for 3 seconds is obviously not worthwhile for your business. So how can you not only get that attention, but maintain that attention by really speaking your audience's keywords and language, and speak to the opportunity that they want the most? Really key for that second step in the process. And the third one is direct. Like, okay, once we've captured their attention, once we've kind of engaged them, the last part is kind of that call to action. So like, where do you want them to go? Like, take them by the hand and direct them to that next step. And one of the things that really stuck out to me that Mike talked about is making sure that your call to action is reasonable. Like, what is that reasonable next step? You don't want to be throwing out something unreasonable. So the example he utilized is like, pretend you're a used car salesman. Like, somebody comes in right away, tells you what car they want, and you say right away, yeah, that'll be $10,000. Can I have that right away? No, that would be an unreasonable request. So making sure that in your call to action, it's super reasonable, that it's, going to that next landing page, checking out the webinar, whatever it is, make it reasonable in terms of where they are in that step of the process. And again, keeping their curiosity up, keeping their attention up along the way. Again, if you can catch people's attention, but you can't sustain it, it's obviously not great for your marketing. So again, one of the king, again, that's the DAD marketing formula. Again, super simple, kind of goes down to your marketing really has to be simple and really speak to your audience as much as possible. I think the first one is really differentiate, really thinking about and actually doing the research in terms of what your message is out there. So this kind of really came through. I was doing some research for a client this week who kind of focuses on solving rotator cuff problems. So again, not the most glamorous type of solution, but what I did was just kind of go into the Facebook ad library and type in rotator cuff and see what kind of ads popped up. And one of the things that I saw again and again and again is that everybody's kind of using the same Facebook ad formula or template or fill in the blank. Where everybody in the first line is kind of calling out active adults in whatever location they are. You can see that here. You can see that with this one over here in terms of the community. It would say like, okay, are you dealing with shoulder pain? You're in this community. Well, we can help you. And the offer along the way is the same one. Here, claim your voucher. Only 20 are available. It's going to be $47. It could be a free evaluation. They all kind of run the same offer along the way. So again, all these Facebook ad messages, like, again, you might be the best shoulder pain solution person out there, but again, if you're running the same ads that calls out the community in the first line, talks about the shoulder pain, and then goes straight to a free waiver or a $47 offer for that first appointment, people's eyes are going to glaze over, because again, in many ways, you're making yourself a commodity. You're just trying to compete on price or give out a free offer. Again, this is kind of the classic offer lead. So instead, it makes it really easy. And this is what I love as somebody that writes Facebook ads, is like, okay, the entire market is doing the same thing. Like, it's going to make it really easy for me to write Facebook ads, because I can take a much different approach and really talking about the solution and really getting down and connecting with this audience through stories or, a variety of different ways, and really thinking about where the audience is along the way. The other part is just the images. So like, if I go down to the Facebook images, everybody is using kind of an image like this, kind of an image of, a skeleton of the shoulder pointing to the rotator cuff. Again, is that something that really sticks out to you? Probably not. Here's another one that's even more detailed, kind of going through all the different, pointing out all the different parts of the shoulder. Again, if you're going through your Facebook news feed and you see an image like this, it just screams that it's an ad. So it's going to make it more likely that those people are going to continue to scroll and not be interested. And again, if they see the same image again and again and again, and they've stopped because it spoke, maybe that image spoke to them as their shoulder hurt. They read that message just like, oh, okay, great, another free offer, another $47 offer. But they still have those questions in their mind, like, okay, like, why is this business? Why is this person, the best use of my time, the best solution that I've had out there, those kind of things. The ad that really doesn't engage them along the way. It's just trying to compete on price, making themselves a commodity as you go along. So again, doing this initial research isn't the most interesting. A lot of people will just try and get out there and start trying to test ideas right away. But you can save a lot of time and save a lot of money by just going into the Facebook ad library, typing in some keywords here at the top, and like, okay, what are those specific words, phrases that your audience would be typing in here, like would theoretically be typing in, kind of like a Google search bar, but also what words and phrases would absolutely be in your competitors' ads, and how can you go through each of these? And again, as you type in some of these things, you'll get a better idea of like, okay, like every ad is tending to use these specific words, these specific phrases. And you can get more specific with it, and you can really get a good idea of like, okay, like if I want to differentiate my marketing here, like what else can I use? Like one of the things that pops out is like most people aren't using videos as part of their ads because they're not as comfortable. So like, okay, maybe I can use some video ads out there. Maybe I can share a story around some of the solutions. Maybe I can share a testimonial story. And that's what I kind of saw for a lot of the DIY type of shoulder solutions, is they really got down to like, okay, if you're considering surgery, here's our DIY type approach. Here's why it's better, sharing some testimonials and getting that out there. So again, take a look at what your marketing, take a look at what your competition is doing. And a lot of people will just try and copy what their competition is doing, thinking that's what's already working. Think of how you can take some elements of what's working, but also differentiate it. How can you be that unicorn within the market that really sticks out, so that your market not only stops for your ad, but engages with them and eventually goes to your call to action? Again, don't do a call to action just based on price. Think about a reasonable request that you can get people to that next step, so they can start that conversation with you and eventually get to that next process at the end of the line. So again, to wrap up, again, the DAD marketing formula. Again, the number one thing I think is all about differentiating your marketing. Like, again, we're kind of in a battle for attention here, especially on Facebook, where people will decide to, look at your ad and hit that see more button within a period of milliseconds. And they'll kind of do it unconsciously. So their brain is kind of filtering for, have I seen this before? Is this worth stopping for? Again, if your marketing doesn't pass those tests, if it doesn't pass that differentiating test, it's going to continue to scroll through. you're not going to get the type of clicks that you're looking for. It's not going to get the result that it's looking for. Again, even when you get that attention, making sure that you're attracting and really engaging with your audience with the right words and phrases that they want the most, and talking about the opportunity and outcome that they want, and then directing them to the reasonable next step. Don't throw out, really thinking about what is that call to action? What do you want them to do next? And really thinking about continuing the conversation as much as possible. So if that was helpful, hit that like button on whatever platform you're on. In the comments below, give me a couple suggestions on how you're thinking about differentiating your business as much as possible. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and I'll see you on a future live session.